This is the MBRP Armor Pro single exhaust setup available for your 2020 and newer 6.6 liter gasser Silverado or Sierra 2500 and 3500. Now you should be checking out the Armor Pro system here from MBRP if you'd like to go big in regards to both diameter, but more importantly sound, while also getting the best possible material thanks to the 304 grade stainless. Now the MBRP will deliver a massive 4-inch diameter throughout here with an even bigger 5-inch slash cut tip and can be had for right around that low $1,000 price point. Now moving right into our features block and more importantly the sound clips that you guys heard earlier here, and I would say the MBR Pro Series is definitely bringing the heat with a decent amount of bark overall. But more importantly, at least to me, it's gonna be that deep earth-shaking tone that I think MBRP does better than anybody else in the category, and that is something a lot of our customer reviews have said as well. So if you like that deep tone, you're really gonna be digging the MBRP Pro Series. But what does it all mean when it comes to loudness? Breaking out my tried and true Wake the Neighbor scale, I'm gonna go soft 4 out of 5 here on my 1 to 5 or 1 to Wake the Neighbor scale. I personally think the combination of the included resonator here, working with dust diameter and the straight through muffler delivers that deeper tone, but that deeper tone does help keep this out of the 5 out of 5 category. Now, if you did have a little bit more rasp going on or something like that, well then this would be an easy 5 out of 5. But getting back to as it sits now, that deep tone is very, very awesome. I love it, but you should know that that deeper tone does lend itself more to entering the cab while cruising. Obviously, you're gonna hear this thing when you're just hammering on the truck, but even a little bit while just kind of cruising that 60 or above. It does fade, of course, certainly not droney, but because it is a deeper, louder tone, you should expect to hear it. More so if you're hooked up and under load, often doing a lot of towing. So if you are the type of gasser owner out there who expects to do a lot of towing with this system in place, just know you are gonna hear that while cruising. But hey, if you dig the tone like I do, well then that's certainly not a bad thing. Now getting into construction here, and this system is going to be the Armor Pro again, which is MBRP's top of the line offering thanks to the full 304 grade stainless steel build throughout. Now this is regarded as the best material there is when it comes to truck exhaust, as it is going to offer the best corrosion resistance long term, so therefore it's really no surprise that they back this system with their limited lifetime warranty. Now materials aside, this system is going to pack that bigger is better motto thanks to the large 4-inch mandrel bent tubing here throughout, leading into and out of your included resonator, through your straight through muffler here, and then finally exiting out of the factory location out of this massive 5-inch slash cut tip here embossed with the MBRP logo. Now I do want to point out here, guys, that this system does include all of the necessary clamps and everything else needed to get everything in place. And again, it is backed by that lifetime warranty if you ever run into any issues. Now moving into pricing, and the Armor Pro here with its full 304 stainless build is gonna land you right around that low $1,000, which honestly I think is pretty reasonable overall. It does put this amongst some other systems in the category here in regards to a full stainless kit. Now, if you lived in a nicer area with your gasser, whether it be Florida, California, something like that, and you're not as worried about weather or salt on the roads during the winter time, well, you should definitely check out MBRP's Armor Light system, which is basically gonna be the same exact configuration here, same exact sound, but in place of that expensive 304 grade stainless will be aluminized steel. Now that does not get a lifetime warranty. Instead, it only gets backed by a 1 to 3 year warranty. But again, if you're not living in a climate that sees a lot of snow or road salt or not worried about corrosion, well then that's certainly worth checking out as well. And it is considerably more affordable than the Pro Series that we have here. All right, what do you say we switch gears and talk about the installation? And the site's gonna call this a middle of the road 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, taking you, I would say, about 3 hours at absolute most to complete from start to finish. Now to give you a better idea of how this one might go down on your gasser at home, let's throw it out to the shop for our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown.
For this install, you will need an impact, various size ratchets, 8mm Allen socket, 15, and in our case 17mm sockets, 15mm ratcheting wrench, hanger removal tool, a whiz wheel, air hammer if necessary, measuring tape, a marker, penetrating lubricant, and also not shown here is a pole jack or a jack and jack stands and an extra set of hands, and also a metal cutting tool. Today we're going to be doing an exhaust on our Sierra, so let's get started. Alright guys, so we've got the truck in the air, and the first thing we're going to do is get the nuts off of our flange studs. They are 15 millimeters, so we've got our 15 millimeter socket and extension on our ratchet. I highly recommend, if your truck is higher mileage or in the Northeast like us or somewhere else that gets salty in the winter and a bit rusty, spray your studs down with penetrating lubricant before you begin. Got one up top. Alright guys, so ours is pretty stubborn. We actually did snap our lower stud off, which is okay, it's not the end of the world. We've got a larger ratchet with our 15 mil in extension. We're going to attempt to get our upper stud nut off. Now if that one snaps as well, it's kind of a good thing. It makes it easier at this point. And we ended up snapping both, which, like I said, is not the end of the world. Actually makes it easier. Last thing you want to do is strip out a nut and have to cut these off. So this is better than what we expected. Now that we have our studs free, we're going to start removing all of our hangers from our factory isolators. To do that, we've got our hanger removal tool. We also did spray these down with some penetrating lubricant as well. It's going to allow for these to come out a little bit easier. So get in here and get these out. Way. Now we'll get our hanger at our muffler inlet side. Now we've got a pole jack supporting our muffler. We'll get the two outlet side hangers off. Alrighty guys, so now I've got an extra set of hands holding the front of the exhaust. We've got our pole jack out. I'm going to get this last hanger out, and then we'll slide our exhaust out over the axle. Now, since we did break our studs off, we are going to have to address that. Luckily, these are just kind of press in, they're not welded or anything on the back. So if you take a large hammer and give these a few taps, they should come right out. So ours are being a little bit stubborn, and if that's the case with yours, you can grab an air hammer, or if you don't have access to an air hammer, keep your large hammer and get a torch. Heat up your flange a little bit, just enough to release that. We're going to use our air hammer and get these out. Now once we have that first one out, we'll do the same thing for the other one. Alrighty guys, so now that we have our factory system off, there's a couple things we need to do before we can just install our new system. Now this is all dependent on the cab and bed size of your truck. We have a crew cab short bed, so according to the manufacturer's directions, we're going to need to cut our mid pipe down to 24 inches. They have a full chart that correlates with whatever cab and bed combo you have, so follow that. If you need to cut, not every cab and bed size needs a full cut. But for ours, again, crew cab, short bed, we're gonna need to cut this down to 24 inches. So I've got a tape measure, mark this out. Now you do wanna mark this in a few spots around your tubing to make for an easier, straighter cut. So once you've got this all marked out, we're going to use our chop saw to cut this down. Now if you don't have a chop saw, you can use a sawzall or a cutting wheel, whatever you have access to that will cut metal, and we'll get this cut down, get the end cleaned up, get all the burrs off, and then we'll be able to get ready to start installing. Alright guys, so now we're over at our chop saw and we're going to cut this down. I've got it clamped up in our saw, we've got it lined up with our blade. One important thing to remember, whenever you're cutting metal, you want to at the very least wear eye protection. My glasses are shatterproof, so we'll get this cut down. Alright guys, now that we have this cut, we're going to clean up all the burrs on the outside and the inside of our tubing. Now, however small you may think that is, that little flap can cause turbulence, cause a minor change in tone and flow, and the point of exhaust is to have it as free flowing as possible. So we've got our flap wheel, we'll clean this up, get it ready for install. Alright guys, so we're back underneath the truck and we're ready to start installing our new setup. Now, once again, since we did snap our studs off and got those out, we're going to grab some M10 through bolts. These fit perfectly through those original flange holes. We've got our bolt and flat washer. We're going to stick those through the back side. It's going to act just like our studs. Again, this is only if you needed to remove your studs. If you still have your factory ones, you're going to reuse those 15mm nuts. So once we have those on, we're going to get our resonator and flange on. So we're going to line this up with our factory isolator and get our hanger through. Just like so. And we'll line up our 2-bolt flange. Get that in place. We're going to loosely install our flange nuts that we have for these bolts. We'll do the same for the other one. We're going to leave these hand tight for now. That'll hold this in place. Next, we're going to get our mid pipe that we cut down in place into our slip joint on our resonator. So we're going to grab our provided clamp, get that over our slip joint first. We'll get our mid pipe in place. Make sure that's fully seated. Next, we're going to install our provided hanger clamp. That's going to go into our factory isolator up here. We're going to slide this onto our mid pipe. Get this lined up. Get that seated into our factory isolator. That's going to hold that mid pipe in place. Next, we're going to install our muffler. So we're going to get a clamp over our slip joint for our inlet side. Then we're going to get this seated onto our mid pipe. Now this doesn't have hangers on it yet, so we're going to get a pole jack underneath here to support this. We'll get this in. Bring this up to a nice level. Now we're going to get our provided double hanger clamp in place on our muffler outlet hangers. So we want to get our longer one going towards the driver's side. We'll get this one in first. Get that through. We'll line up our other one. Bring it back that way. Make sure that one's all the way in. We'll line up our clamp with our muffler outlet. Get that in. You may have to reinstall the hanger part of the clamp. To do that, you have a larger end for your nut to go through. Now that we have our clamp set, we're going to bring our over axle in. Get that into place into our muffler outlet. Get that one fully seated. Next we can get our tail section in place. So we've got our tail pipe. So now we'll get our clamp onto our slip joint for our tail section. We're going to line up our hanger with our factory isolator at our tail section as well as our slip joint. We'll get this up and in first. Get that fully seated. We'll get our hanger into our isolator. Make sure that's not hitting or rubbing on anything. Alright guys, so now we're going to begin tightening everything down so we can line up our middle section to our tail section, make sure nothing's hitting or rubbing. That way it's a lot easier to align your tip. So if you are reusing your factory studs and nuts, you will just need your 15mm socket on your ratchet. For ours, since we have through bolts, we've got a 15mm socket on our ratchet and a 17mm wrench for our nuts. You want to tighten these as even as possible while your flange sits straight. Now we're going to tighten down our resonator outlet clamp, our hanger clamp, and our muffler inlet clamp. For all these clamps, we're going to be using our 15mm socket on our impact. Next, we can tighten down our muffler outlet clamp. Now we'll tighten down our tail section clamp. You do want to keep this as centered as possible. Keep it away from your leaf spring and also your heat shield. Now we can get our tip in place. Slide this on. It's seated. Now you do want your slash cut to be facing upwards. You have a little bit of adjustment room if you want this sticking out more, if you want it in more flush and more of a subtle look, you can do that. Now to tighten your clamp down, you're going to need an 8mm Allen socket on a ratchet. I highly recommend using a hand tool for this and not a power ratchet. These clamps are pretty sensitive. You definitely want to feel them tighten up properly. Alrighty folks, that about wraps up our review and install of our MBRP Armor Pro single exhaust system with polished tip and side exit for your 20 to current 6.6 liter gas Sierra and Silverado 2500 and 3500 HD. Thanks for watching, and as always, for everything Sierra, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.